Hello students, welcome to Legacy IAS Academy. In today's video, we are going to discuss about recently concluded agreement between India and US in the area of lunar exploration. This particular accord is called as Artemis Accord. So in this video, we are going to discuss about that why India has finally signed Artemis Accord after 3 years. What is the significance of this signing of this accord as far as the India's space adventures is concerned. But first of all, to give you a brief background of this particular issue, recently India's ambassador to the United States, Mr. Taranjeet Sandhu, in the Willard Hotel of Washington DC, have signed a document which has confirmed India's acceptance of the Artemis Accord. Basically, it was a modest event if you compare with all other important documents and all other important, we can say, agreement that has been signed when Prime Minister Modi was on a state visit to United States of America. However, like other deals between India and US, the signing of India's Artemis Accord is undoubtedly the result of careful preparatory works and a hard-nosed quid pro quos between the two nations. However, the Artemis signing raises more questions than are easily answered. So what are the questions that we have in front of us after the signing of Artemis Accord? The first question is that Artemis Accord is not a formal international convention or formal international accord. It is rather an informal agreement which deals with the human contact on the moon in the future. Second, so despite being informal agreement, why signing of Artemis Accord is considered as such a big deal? The second question is that why India did not sign this accord when the first came out during the Trump presidency, that was in year 2020. And third, what will India get out of this Artemis Accord? So these are the three questions we'll try to answer in the following part of our video. But first of all, to give you idea briefly about what Artemis Accords is all about. So first of all, as we have discussed, that it is a kind of informal accord, and it basically gives us a set of non-binding guidelines that underpin the Artemis program. Now, Artemis program basically is America-led project that plans in a long term to return humans back to the moon. However, this time the return of humans will be permanent in nature, and this is something we can say is mirror or very similar to a Chinese-Russian joint plan for an international lunar research station, where they plan to set up a lunar base, a lunar research base, where there will be permanently stationed astronauts such as we have in the International Space Station today. Now, if you look at the overall consensus around Artemis Accord, we can see apart from USA, there are several countries from all across the world such as Australia, Bahrain, Brazil, Canada, Colombia, Czech Republic. These are from the European Union. Then you have Ecuador from South America. We have Japan from Asia. We can say East Asia. Then we also have MENA countries such as Saudi Arabia, UAE, and also we have Ukraine. And then we have India that has recently signed the agreement. Overall, if you look at the motto of Artemis Accord, it says that it aims at united for peaceful exploration of the deep space, where these countries have agreed to come together. Now, in this project, as we have discussed, the basic aim and objective is to return back to moon, permanent settlement of the humans, and thus the overall, if you look at the ingredient or overall component of this particular project, it consists of a settlement of a lunar base on the lunar surface. Second, it also aims to develop multiple spacecrafts that can ferry humans and cargo to the moon and then back to the Earth. Third, it will also comprise of a small orbiting space station called the Lunar Gateway, which will act as a transit point between India and Earth, we can say Earth and the moon. And last, there will be a constellation of satellites that will help with the navigation and communication, both for the spacecrafts as well as this orbiting space station called Lunar Gateway. So these are the four different components of this particular project. Now, the questions come that why we humans, also other countries, all the countries of the world are fascinated with exploration of moon. So there are two answers. First of all, what are the long-term goals or objectives that we can fulfill by going and exploring the moon? The first is, as many scientists argue, that exploring moon is nothing but extension of the primordial human urge to explore into the deep outer space. It is basically to satisfy our understanding, satisfy our hunger for the knowledge and understanding of the deep space. Second, there also obviously is going to be commercial windfalls from the celestial mining, because once we are able to develop space station or research stations at the lunar surface. We will able to mine important minerals from the moon, and also in the far future, it can act as a transit point between the Earth and a lot of different asteroids that are present in the we can say asteroid belt of the solar system, which are rich in a lot of such kind of minerals which are very rare on the Earth and can play a very significant role in development of electronics and electrical systems. Third, such kind of exploration will also serve as inspiration for the younger generations, and they will be more willing to take part in space exploration and also undergo studies related to the cosmology and astronomy. On the other hand, if you look at the immediate outcome or effect of this program, well, obviously it is related to more what we can say related more geopolitical in nature, and it reflects both the genius of humanity and the pathology of its politics. For example, going to moon, and whoever first of all is able to establish research station on the moon, it will carry a strong symbolic value, or we can say it will carry a strong totemic value for global powers, and it is nothing but we can say also is an extension of the race for becoming superpower that began several decades ago during the times of Cold War, and now the race is largely going on between US and China. And thus, by making such kind of accords, kind of missions successful, leaders of many countries, different countries such as US, China, India, they are also making a bet that the sheer difficulty of lunar exploration will spur technological innovation and thus will help in rapid progress of science and technology as far as the space exploration is concerned. On the other hand, there are some specific benefits that will accrue to the United States of America because largely Artemis Accord is US-led accord. So first major advantage that US can expect to gain from it is that it is a major sign of power in international politics, because US, by bringing so many countries from different continents together to be a part of Artemis Accord, basically is showing its ability to set norms and also build large multinational collaborations. Second, the 10 principles that has been listed in the Artemis Accord support an America-friendly interpretation of the space law. Before that, we also have several laws such as Outer Space Treaty that was signed in year 1969, and then we have the Moon Treaty that was signed in year 1979 that deals basically with the space law and how the space has to be used by the humanity as a whole. However, Artemis Accord is largely basically provides America and USA to interpret the space law what is beneficial to them. And third, in return for signing on, all the countries that have signed this Artemis Accord will get to participate in the Artemis program, which in theory at least can bring both prestige as well as technological benefits for the domestic space exploration. However, the signing of Artemis Accord is not free of issues and concern. For example, the first concern, it was the main concern due to which India was hesitant to sign the Artemis Accord in beginning, was that it is in contradiction to the Moon Agreement that was signed in 1979. Artemis Accord basically allows all the actors, including private players as well as the government players, to extract and utilize space resources however possible and however they want to. And thus, experts have interpreted this as being at odds to the Moon Agreement, because the Moon Agreement asks that whatever gains private companies or government is making from the extraction and utilization of space resources or commercial exploitation of space resources, including moon's resources, have to be equally distributed between the humans, among the humankind or mankind across all the countries of the world. And thus, India, since it was a party to the Moon Agreement, though it has not ratified it, it was hesitant to join this Artemis Agreement. Also, India largely as a part of its foreign policy believes in signing such accord which carries formality, which are basically what we can say is accord that is signed under the aegis of United Nations, and thus Artemis Accord did not fit that criteria, as these were informal set of guidelines and norms rather than a legally binding instrument. Thus, India was hesitant in signing it in the beginning of 2020. So, what can explain the shift in India's stand and the recent signing of India's Artemis Accord? So, first of all, the attitude of India as far as the space program, space exploration is concerned has evolved in past few years, and the new space policy of India even allows participant of private players to mine and explore space resources, which obviously will include the resources of moon. So thus it is in line with the vision of Artemis program. Second, what we can see that India understand very well that the division of the ideology between US and China and the struggle that is going between these two countries to be a superpower, one to become a superpower and the US to remain a superpower, is very deep, and thus for them to agree together to form a complex new international law, especially in the field of space exploration, is something seen to be a far distant task. Thus, India cannot wait for an international agreement to take shape in this area, because India will lose the valuable time. And third, we can also say that to a large extent, the continuous strengthening of relationship between India and US, especially we can understand this, which has been exhibited by the Prime Minister Modi's first state visit, and it has been in the upswing, and thus now the hesitation of signing any such agreement, any such accord which is led or inspired by America is very less, and thus India might have agreed to sign this accord. Now, what is the path that remains ahead or lies ahead of India? So first of all, to take appropriate or take what we can say to gain possible advantage from Artemis Accord, India will have to take several reformatory measures, and that can make its lunar dream successful. So what can these steps be? So first of all, India has still a very abysmal share as far as its space budget is concerned. So India will have to increase its budget for the space. Second, it will also have to overcome domestic resistance, because as we talk about traditionally, ISRO has been at the forefront of space exploration, and this is a government agency. Thus, there is a lot of domestic resistance in collaboration with the other space agencies, and also because it involves a lot of sensitive data and information which India is not very comfortable to share with all other countries. So that is something that also has to be overcome. Third, the private sector of India, especially in the field of space exploration, is still in very nascent stage, and thus it will have to enable the private sector to work with the other Artemis member as well as ISRO, and thus in that regard, India will have to develop a legislation that encourage space activities and promote space activities. So obviously these are not going to be an easy task. These are not going to be something that India can aim to achieve in very short duration of time, short period of time, but at least looking at a long vision, especially since we are talking about Chandrayaan 3, this is something that has to be done. And though it may not be the easy task, they are not like but they are not like asking for the moon. If you want to have big vision, then obviously these are the reforms that is urgently required. So that is all about this particular video. I hope you understood about the concept behind the Artemis mission. If you like the video, please hit the like button, share it with your aspirants, as well as subscribe to our channel for more such content. Thank you very much.